Well, hey guys, how you doing today? I'm not gonna lie, I've been covering John Tory's clearing of the encampments, and along with many Torontonians, I feel a high level of horror associated with the overt uh, police brutality, the overt fascism on display. And it just kicks me up into this sort of state of, I don't want to say despair. But it's in that category. It's certainly a cousin. They're certainly related phenomenon. And I keep hearing people talking all of the time about finding meaning, right? It's a very sort of Petersonian sort of thing, but you hear this even from commentators like Joe Rogan, and even commentators who I really like Chris Hedges, right? We talk about finding meaning in this world. And my question is steadily becoming, how do we find meaning in a world that is turning against us? How do we find meaning in a society that is structuring itself to abandon us? And more, I'm beginning to fall onto the conclusion that the only meaning that can be derived from a society such as this, one that has completely forsaken any even contemplation on the idea that we should bother attempting to help any citizen of any sort. The only meaning that I can derive from this is rebellion. And I talk about this on my live stream and on this channel an awful lot, and I say slogans at the end of these videos: join the rebellion, organize the revolutionary project, these sorts of things. But it's not a slogan. It's not a slogan. It's not like, I'm not a brand. I've had to brand myself the Canadian commie in order to attract viewers, attract people to my position, create a strong idea, a strong identity of who I am. But the truth of the matter is that I am simply a man who is attempting to struggle with the same sorts of ideas and concepts that everyone is struggling with, and I've concluded that the only meaning that exists in this world that has configured itself to destroy itself is rebellion. We can't do anything else. That the United States military machine is going across the planet and destroying everything in its wake. One of the top polluters on the planet is the military-industrial complex throughout the United States. And that if we were to shut down all manufacturing, if we were to shut down all transport, we would still die to a climate change apocalypse because of the mobilization of the United States military. Do you believe that the United States military is escalating or de-escalating? If you think it's de-escalating, then you're living in a fairy tale land. The idea that we are ramping up to wars of any sort, be it against yet another small defenseless nation like Cuba or Venezuela, or be it against a larger opponent such as China, this ramping up to war itself, without even going to war, simply the ramping up to war, is actively destroying us. And yet, I'm supposed to turn around and sell myself to this insane death cult culture that is geared explicitly and expressly to destroy the human species, and I'm supposed to sell myself, what, to Wendy's? I'm supposed to take a job for $7.25 if I'm an American, but even as a Canadian here in Ontario, taking a job for $14 an hour seems utterly pointless. I'm going to sell the best years of my life. I'm going to sell my time and my effort so that right when perhaps it's possible I begin to find my feet and I begin to find out what I'm capable of, and I begin to find out how to be an individual in this world, well, then it'll all just burn down. You know, like Lytton burnt down. Or it'll all just flood out, like has been happening throughout the United States and Europe. And I keep seeing these articles talking about the labor shortage. I see article after article after article being deeply concerned about a labor shortage in the economy, while simultaneously refusing to even contemplate or understand the base idea that we no longer wish to participate, that we would like to change the channel on this. We would like this to cease. We would like this to end. Please. And it seems to me that the only path forward at this stage in the game is de-escalation through rebellion. That we can't just keep driving around these fossil fuel cars and pretending like that's going to be acceptable. We can't just keep polluting the atmosphere and pretending like that's going to be acceptable. We can't keep throwing citizens onto the streets and then assaulting them with police officers and pretend like that's acceptable. That this society is not normal and has gone off the rails. That we have lost any semblance of a centralized philosophy or a centralized moral core. That we are a nation of salesmen, and that everything we say to one another is just a means to an end to sell a product to one another. Dumb slogans like we're all in this together, when it's explicitly obvious that that is false, that that is not the case. As Jeff Bezos shoots himself into space while the rest of us collapse into the streets. And if we have a hope of surviving the coming climate change apocalypse that our leadership is actively ignoring and pandering towards and playing to, then the only way forward is through simply stopping what we are doing. Simply stop participating. Stop going to work for these pointless enterprises which benefit no one. Stop purchasing from these pointless places in order to find that fleeting bliss point that McDonald's jams into your face. Because if we don't, we're just silently walking along to the grave. That is what we are doing. I get called all kinds of weird things. People say all kinds of weird things about me when I do these recordings. Especially the pro-capitalist crowd. And more, I'm finding it difficult to see that I am the one who is out of touch with reality. That I am the one that's struggling with what is real or what is false. As we actively structure our society to destroy itself. If you were in a vehicle that was driving at full blast towards a brick wall, and you saw the brick wall, and you knew the brick wall was there, the most rational thing to do would be to hit the brakes. That would be the most rational thing. And these failed neoliberal ideas of infinite growth, these failed neoliberal ideas that we can just continuously harvest the world around us without any consequence, these sort of childish, detached, non-scientific, highly religious ideas that the most powerful forces that exist on this planet come from humanity instead of from the planet itself. These childish delusions are going to seal our fate as a species, and that we absolutely must lay down our arms and declare peace, not only with each other, but with the natural world around us. And we have to bow our heads and acknowledge the power of the universe and the power of the earth, and acknowledge that when it comes down to it, we are not in control of what happens here. The individualists like to walk around and pretend as though, well, all you have to do is pull yourself up by your bootstraps. And this I am steadily seeing to be as not only incorrect, but as desperately arrogant and desperately detached and desperately insulting towards the power and force of our universe and of our earth. That it doesn't matter how hard you try to author your own fate. It doesn't matter how hard you try to stand up straight with your shoulders back. It doesn't matter how hard you try to bootstrap yourself. If all of your action, if everything you are doing rests in the defiance of the rule set that is clearly given to us by the universe. Even if you are an atheist, even if you are a deep secularist, you have to acknowledge that there are rules. You have to acknowledge that there are rules to this place. And if you don't, if you refuse to acknowledge even the most basic, reasonable, and rational position that exists on this plane of existence, that there are rules that must be followed, then you are setting not only yourself up, but your children and your children's children up for a form of destruction that is so overtly grotesque and horrific that it simply cannot even be contemplated. That it's easier for the ruling class and its protectors to live in this fantasy world where a group of apes and monkeys are more powerful than the universe itself. If we do not simply stop, and there are things that we could do to stop. Dundas Square, Times Square, these places are lit up like candles. The interstate highway system is lit up like a candle. You can see our quote-unquote civilization from space. That's how lit up we are. And the truth of the matter is that if we don't slow ourselves down, the universe will slow us down for us. And when it does so, it will not care. It will not even shed a single tear about the suffering that is spread throughout the human populace. And so that's our choice. Slow down now. Stop participating now. Stop creating more junk and more garbage and more trash. Learn to build things that last. Learn to build things that are in balance and compliance with the rules of the universe, or be wiped out. I refuse to go down without a fight. Well, that's the end of this video as it opens up and starts to rain on me. If you've made it to this point, you have to like, you have to share, you have to subscribe. Those are the rules of the internet. I don't make them up. My Patreon's down below, and most importantly of all, my live stream is 6 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every weekday. Please come on in, join the Revolutionary Project. You are a divine being, standing on divine energy. We could use some of it right now. Good luck. We're gonna need it.